I'm Mark Zambrano, and I'm on a quest to unravel the secrets our country has been hiding.
There's only one thing to do. 3, 2, 1.
From natural wonders, mythical locations, to the most isolated corners of the country. Wherever there's adventure, X marks the spot. Roughly 3 hours away from Manila, Quezon Province is known for its beautiful beaches and mystical mountains. In this adventure, I travel to some of its remote corners to take on a canyon of prehistoric proportions, a mysterious cave and river system untouched by man, one of the oldest bridges in the country, and a treacherous climb up a waterfall where one false move could mean certain death.
Okay, from this point on, we have approximately a 30-minute walk or hike or climb, whatever way you want to put it, to this place, Maapon Falls. So terrain going to the falls, pretty much like this, the entire way, uphill, downhill, sometimes 45-degree inclines. So it helps to have good traction shoes and a good sense of balance. Paradise. Have you ever seen anything that pretty? Look at that! The Philippines is the most beautiful country in the world. We're gonna try and see some of the pools up there, because they say at the end of those falls over there, there's a small pool. And the only way to get there is to pass through these rocks. I'm gonna see if I can get there myself.
The climb up the waterfall was a test of nerves, and I admit feeling slightly mortified looking up from below. But there was no doubt in my mind, I had to make it to the top. The moss-covered rock wall provided almost no traction. Being virtually untouched, there was no visible trail up the waterfall face. The slow traverse upwards involved holding on to small cracks, barely enough for 2 fingers. I could feel my heart beating with every lunge, my muscles screaming with the amount of effort needed to climb. But as soon as I made it to the waterfall's first tier, my efforts were instantly rewarded. The water was cold and refreshing as I took a much-needed handful under the scorching sun. I took a moment to soak in the majesty of Mother Nature. And the view? Well, you be the judge.
Man, that is cold! But it's a nice respite from the warm weather. Yeah.
Standing proud in the town of Tayabas is the Malagonlong Bridge, dating back to 1840. Standing atop the bridge transports you back in time, when locals had to pay in precious stones to get across. Local stories say that the Spanish bridge was held together by adobe, egg whites, and molasses, which is a tribute to its amazing architecture.
So an adventure will never be complete without checking one particular thing. This cave.
Upon entering the first cave, I realized that moving through it would be challenging. The main corridor ceiling was low and riddled with hanging rocks and stalactites. Moving forward meant walking over bamboo stilts placed precariously over the rapids below. Only the lights from our headgear and cameras showed the way. A small clearing gave the first glimpse of light amidst the darkness, and from here it was a few meters uphill to the entrance of the main underground lake.
Seriously, look at that. Oh wow, look at that. So they made this makeshift raft. One thing that strikes you when you're here, aside from the echo, is the smell of guano. That's bat droppings, and they're all over the top of this cave. They're hidden along the sides and inside the cracks made by the stalactites. Wow! Pwedeng ano na lang sir, pwedeng itulak na lang sa pader no, para umandar. Tol, dito ka, dun ako. So the only way to take a full feel of what's inside this cave is to actually take this small raft and go inside. Try not to touch the stalactites, but we'll see how far we can go without a paddle. Thank you. Okay, so the best way to actually feel how grand this cave is and the waters inside it is actually to go deeper. And luckily we have this raft to take us deep into the cave. Sadly, there's no paddles, so we have to use... Whoa, bats! See that? Did you see that? I just disturbed some bats. Look up. Oh my God, look at the bats! Stalactites everywhere, look at that. That's what we're trying not to touch, because it took hundreds of years for that to form along the sides of this cave, and they're all over the place. Look at how big that one is. So you see what I'm trying to do here is using the cave wall to navigate as long as I don't touch any of the stalactites. So right here on the edge of this stalactite, and you can see the minerals building up over the eons here. It's building up to this. We're trying hard not to touch these because, as I said, these are very rare and it takes hundreds of years for them to form. There are stories by the locals saying that some of the formations in this cave took the shape of some religious figures like the Virgin Mary and some saints, and some of them actually go to this cave to give praise. It's cathedral-like in size. So these are the shapes you were talking about a while ago. Some of them have the shape of a head, like this one. There's a nose and an eye. It looks like a crying face. I don't know if you can see that. This one. There's eyes with tears flowing down the cheek. Seen many caves in my day, but you don't normally see a cave like this. It has a combination of size and an actual running rapids inside it. Goes to show you that Quezon has a lot of secrets that have yet to be seen. You know, thank God for tough shoes like this Merrell pair, or else I don't know how I'll survive. It's tough, stable, gives you enough traction when you're crossing rocks like this full of moss. It's a lifesaver. this river system here in Sampaloc is a must-see. You know why? The water is so clear because it's being fed by the mountain streams from the Sierra Madre mountain range. In fact, the water is so clean, it's teeming with life. Sometimes it's going up. More often than not, you have to jump over big rocks, like now. But what makes it a little easier is the foliage. I mean, look around me. You can smell and taste the fresh air. Feels good in the lungs too. Look at that. Ah, man. That's fresh. I don't know if you can hear it, but the current in this part of the river is really strong. And you have to take a small inch after a small inch in terms of steps. And the locals designed this in such a way that if the fish enters this hole, there's nowhere to go from the back. See that? That's like 8 pieces of solid cocoa lumber being dragged by one horse. I know it's strong enough, but can't help but feel sorry for the little guy. So traveler tip number 1. You can see I'm almost out of breath. But when you're in towns like this and people tell you your destination is malapit na or very near, it's normally far. Don't believe them. This plant is called the pako. And if you're a fan of vegetables and ferns, this is very familiar to you because they use this for salads. And it's rich in iron, potassium, vitamin B, and a lot of other things. So from rocky riverbeds, the landscape just changes all of a sudden to this. It's a canyon made of rock and boulders. And the first thing that hits you when you enter this chasm is how cold the wind suddenly gets. As you can see, the stone is covered with slippery mud. And since my shoes are wet, it makes it very slippery. Look at that. What happened to the river? Wow. This is gonna be a challenge. Cobwebs. I hate spiders. So looking at the caverns that you have to go through, giant rocks like this, and small pools like this, it's easy to forget where you are, and you get reminded how small you are in the universe when you're under rocks this big. It has a prehistoric feel to it, and it takes your breath away. Okay, so this is as far as we get, because after a few meters into this cavern, seeing all the stalactites on the sides of the rocks, apparently the water on that far end is too deep and too dangerous to cross. And it's already 4:08 in the afternoon, so we have to get back. But according to the locals, you can go all the way to the other end for hours. And there's a lot more to see. But man, even from this position, it just takes your breath away. So inside one of the small caves in this cavern are stalactites like this. You're not supposed to touch it because it takes hundreds of years for these things to form. As you can see, these water droplets are responsible for forming the stalactites coming from the top of this cave. And in a few hundred to 1,000 years, these small stalactites will reach all the way to the floor. But right now, look at them. You'll never see one of the same pattern anywhere in this cave. It's beautiful, look at that.
So you want to see something that's really amazing? This particular stalactite, probably formed for 100 years, went all the way up to the bottom. And look at this stalagmite. They joined right here. See, that's what happens if you leave Mother Nature by herself. She makes the most beautiful sculptures. One whole stalactite joining another stalagmite. It's amazing, isn't it?
Our country is a land of adventure, and Quezon Province is no exception. And wherever there's adventure, X marks the spot.